Hi, I'm Donovan, and today, in honor of Earth Day, I'm going to be showing you how to do worm composting. Now, worm composting is one of several different types of composting. It's just the one that I happen to do, so I'm going to show you how to do it. The goal of composting is basically to take biological materials and turn them into something that plants can use. So worms actually help in that process by taking in nutrients and then excreting stuff out. That's very good for plants, and it's very useful when you start your garden this spring. So let me show you the supplies that we need in order to do our worm composting. So here's the supplies you're going to need. You're going to need 2 5-gallon buckets with a lid. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a drill, a 1-inch hole saw, a 1/16 of an inch drill bit, some window screening and glue, and then also a bucket of water and a pair of gloves as well. You're also going to need some place to get worm composting worms from. The type of worms that I use are called red wigglers. I actually have 2 systems that are currently in use, which are over here on my right, and I will be getting worms from one of those bins. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my buckets and I'm going to drill holes in the bottom of this bucket. The reason for that is I need to be able to let some of the liquid drain off of this bucket as things compost. So some things that you compost have a lot of liquid in them, and that liquid needs to drain out the bottom. So I'm going to drill a bunch of holes in this. Okay, that ought to do it. There is a lot of holes in that. Basically what's going to happen is this is going to allow the liquid that's inside the bucket to drain out through the bottom. Now some of the worms can go out through the bottom. It's not a problem. They generally stay in the other bucket or they come back up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some holes in the lid here so that air can circulate within our composting system. So I'm going to change over to a hole saw. This is a 1-inch hole saw. You can buy these just on their own. Now, you do want to use the lid from a 5-gallon bucket. This type of plastic is the right type of plastic. If you try and use the plastic that's found in things like totes, what happens is the plastic is too brittle and it will actually snap rather than getting a hole drilled through it. So I got my 1-inch hole saw and I'm going to drill a hole through this. Now I'm going to drill a total of 3 holes through this. There. Knock off the extra pieces of plastic. Now I'm going to take a utility knife and I'm going to clean up these edges so that I can glue pieces of window screening over the top of these. That will allow air to circulate through, but will not allow the worms to go out of these big holes. Okay, cleaning up these holes a little bit. Okay, next I'm going to glue on some pieces of window screening. So take your scissors and you just cut sizes that are about the right size. Now I'm going to glue these pieces in place. Take your glue gun and you're going to put some glue on each of these sections. and then you're just going to wipe it in place. Make sure you get all the edges. Then we're just going to leave this out here to dry. Finally, we need to prepare a bedding for these worms. So what I have found works really well is to use cardboard. And specifically, I use a lot of pizza boxes. The reason I use pizza boxes is because you're actually not supposed to recycle pizza boxes because of the grease that's in the box, but they work perfect for this. So what you do is you take your utility knife, and I'm going to cut this up into little pieces, and I'm going to put them in, soak them in water before adding them to my bucket. Now I'm adding them to the one with holes in it, and then this bucket is going to go inside the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up a bunch of these and put them in water and let them soak for a few minutes and then add them to the bucket. Okay, once your cardboard has soaked for a little bit, you can go ahead and add it to your bucket. I'm gonna go ahead, Now, you'll notice that I was wearing a glove for this part. I find that cardboard, once it's wet, has a tendency to kind of burn my hands. So I put on a glove for this part, and I'll also put one on when I go to handle the worms as well, because the worm bins can tend to be a little bit acidic. Not bad, just a little bit. Okay, once you've done that, you're gonna take the bucket that is now full of cardboard, put it inside your regular 5-gallon bucket, and then put your lid on top of that. Now, that's basically all there is to it. I'm gonna get some worms and add them to this bucket. If you don't have any worms, you can get them from your local garden store, or you can purchase them online. So, these are 2 of my buckets that I've already had going. I'm gonna show you what they look like after a little bit of time has passed. So the bucket on the left, this one here, this is the one that I've been using the most recently. Now you can tell that some of the things that got thrown in here have now sprouted. It looks like there's a piece of a squash. That happens pretty frequently if you put anything in here that's gonna be able to sprout, so anything with seeds. Now the worms seem to have mostly gone to the bottom. I don't see any right here on the top. You can see bits of cardboard and stuff that I've added. Now the worms, especially in a warm condition or in sunlight, tend to go down as far as they can. So let's see this one that has been going for a little bit longer. You can see, if I pull that out, you can see all those red wigglers in there. So I want to get some of those red wigglers out and add them to this bucket here so that this one can get started. Now you can also notice that this is really pretty fine, and it's all finished. Worms can consume about half their body weight in food every day. So if there's a pound worth of worms in here, they could consume about half a pound worth of food. This one has, the last time I measured it, this one has 6 ounces. I have no idea how much this one has in it because I haven't measured it in a while. Now these ones are also going to have liquid that's going to come out the bottom. If I move this, you can see down in the bottom there's some liquid there. This is really, really great for your plants. I would recommend straining it before you add anything to it because they can have some really little red wigglers that just live in that liquid. Yeah. So let's go ahead and add some worms to this one, and we're gonna call it good. So once you've finished adding your worms to your bucket, this is what it should look like. And then all you do is you take your lid and put it on top and seal it shut. Now, I would recommend adding food to this about every day or so. And what I do is I just have this under a kitchen cabinet and I add coffee grounds to it every day. So I add cardboard from time to time and then coffee grounds every day. And that's all there is to it. Now these buckets, there's some things you do not want to put in there. You do not want to put anything in here that is cooked or milk, any dairy products, basically anything that's going to smell when it starts to decay. You don't want to add it to this. That's why I add mostly coffee grounds and cardboard, because those two things don't really smell when they decay. It makes really great compost, and you can add it to your plants and your plants will love it. So that's about it. That's how you do worm composting, how you make a composting bin, and how you add your worms to it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.